Okay, hey everybody, Steve Simonson, coming back to you. We're lucky today because we have a best-selling author, Kamal Ravikant, and he's going to help us today to dig a little deeper into the inside of our brains. As many of you guys know who follow some of the stuff that I put out there, I think a big part of being a successful entrepreneur, a big part of being successful in life is understanding your personal why and understanding your own journey. And I've had the good fortune to already read a couple of Kamal's books, and I think they're really good at challenging you in terms of getting you to focus on yourself and getting you to focus on what's important to you and helping get things going. So thank you for Kamal for joining us today. It's an amazing honor. Appreciate you.
Honor's mine, and thank you for that intro. It's very lovely. I want to meet this guy.
Well, I tell you, for those watching at home, Kamal in a mastermind group I'm in, he's so well known for being a pay it forward guy that it's really fun to be able to get to know him and be able to share some of the journey that he's had. And actually, Kamal, if you don't mind starting kind of with a little bit about your background and tell us, kind of where you came from and so forth, that would help everybody understand your journey.
Yeah, sure. My background is actually in Silicon Valley, so I've been doing startups since the first .com boom. And, I'm a former U.S. Army infantry soldier. I went to college for a year at a full scholarship. I dropped out, joined the Army instead, did the Army, and then went back to college. And after that, the .com boom was happening. I bought a one-way ticket, moved out there, and just threw myself into, we were building the internet. We were like at that time, none of this had been done before. We were just making stuff up, and I was fortunate to join a company early on that I helped build, and that ended up going public and doing very well. And by the time I left, I was running monetization for the company, so I learned a lot. And we learned at the time by doing. I don't have an MBA. I don't have I didn't even have a business background there, but you just get thrown in, and you just was figure it out. I used to be called the can-do kid at the company. Oh my God, the public market's saying we need to figure out how to make money. Throw it to Kamal, the can-do kid. And that was actually a great lesson. It's if you just have that attitude, I'll figure it out, which I actually credit the Army for giving me that, as a soldier, just what's boot camp? Every day you just challenge and you realize I'll figure it out. I'll get through this, Army's very good at making you go through miserable stuff and realize you can get through it.
Well, I tell you, what an apt analogy, right? Because entrepreneurs every day are faced with, obstacles and things that get in their way. And I tell you, some of the natural human part of entrepreneurs often get stuck in the, oh no, another Amazon change or another and you just kind of grind yourself down. But I kind of have a what I call the fail fast philosophy, right? It's hey, just get in there and do it and mix it up. And it sounds like you have that same kind of concept from the Army days and onwards.
I never could have predicted that.
Yeah.
But it's really looking back, as we look back at the threads of our lives, we see what formed us. And I really think, especially that time at boot camp, Fort Benning, Georgia, in the summer, 3.5 months, that really formed a lot of what I ended up doing later on as I got older. But you're absolutely right. And by the way, entrepreneurship is always about issues coming at you. There's no I think that's one thing, in my career I've learned, and also just, being in Silicon Valley, I'm surrounded by the companies that we all use. A lot of the founders are friends of mine. I've seen them go through the ups and downs. I've seen them when they were just one person using their site, and now there's how many billions of people using their stuff, and it's always just a series of solving problems and new problems.
Well, and isn't it interesting that, at the time you're going through it, it seems like the worst thing ever, right? When you're at boot camp, you're not going, wow, what a great life lesson I'm getting here. You're like, this sucks. I wish I wasn't doing this. But later is when you have the perspective. Is that fair to say?
That's where the growth comes from. Growth doesn't come from sitting on your butt all day. Growth comes from actually being challenged.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship, I think, is one of the best ways for personal growth. Because you're going to be challenged emotionally, mentally, spiritually, business-wise, relationships-wise, you name it, every part of you. I think, all our insecurities, everything, when it's our business, they get fully challenged every day after day. I think the best we can hope for is that the challenges become of a higher level. Where for a while you're challenged on getting one customer, and then later on challenges how to go from 10,000 to 100,000 customers.
Right.
But it'll be a challenge. What you did to get one customer is not what you're going to be able to replicate to go from 10,000 to 100,000. So you have to step up and grow and learn. And I think a lot of what entrepreneurship is that, companies do well or not. I've been part of successes and massive failures where I lost everything, severe credit card debt, had to build myself back out of a hole. And, but it's like because of who you were, what you built along the way, the challenges you face, next go around, you're way smarter, you're way better. And even if you never go through failure, it's who you become. And who you become is pretty much all we got.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still us here. It's who we become in the process. I think entrepreneurship is one of the best ways for personal growth. And fortunately, we live in a in a democracy, in a free market economy where that can reward us from the outside world as well.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
Well, it's
like we couldn't do this in certain countries in the world.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Yeah, in the kind of the open market, and even today, if you're in some of those countries that are maybe more closed off, but the advent of these Amazon marketplaces, eBay, what have you, guys are getting the opportunity to kind of do something interesting and unique. And again, this is something we couldn't predict. Whatever it was, 20 years ago when the internet was kind of getting going, nobody saw anything like this coming.
No, and it's created a whole new generation, like a different level of entrepreneurs. Like, to build a company before the internet, to go from like 0 to 1 million users, or just 1 million paid users, it would take a lifetime. Now I've seen people do that in a year.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
And people who didn't know anything before, because look, you don't have to know how to manage servers. You don't have to know anything about, affiliate tracking. You don't have to know anything about that. It's all pre-built. There's enough companies their job to do that. You just figure out the right product, the right angle, and just go for it.
It is amazing.
It's an unbelievable time in history.
Isn't it?
Unbelievable time.
Yeah, that we get this opportunity in the present day to be able to, use all these tools and resources, everything that's already built for us. And often when I'm, kind of recounting the past, I say with a little bitterness how hard it used to be. We had load balancers, we had servers, we had, racks of Oracle, this and that, and now you guys can just throw on Shopify and you're done. And they really don't see some of the benefits of today because they're faced with today's challenges, which are new and unique and still legitimate. So tell me about the present day. You talked about some of the venture capital stuff, some of the stuff you're doing today. In addition to the writing, what else are you doing?
I built a venture capital fund from scratch, being an entrepreneur. Rather than going work. After my last company, that's the one that blew up, and I lost everything, and I had to start from scratch. But at that experience, there's so much growth that came from it. And actually, my first book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, I wrote a little short book from the heart that showed just like what I did to get out of it internally. And I just put it out to the world, and it's become one of the best-selling books on Amazon 4 years in a row. I did no marketing. I hid underneath the table. I was terrified I was destroying my career in Silicon Valley. Look, I failed, but look, I love myself. I get so many, I have tens of thousands of emails, people this saved my life, this changed my life, entrepreneurs. I'll run into a lot of CEOs in meetings. They were like, dude, that book really helped me because I'm going through a hard time. I wrote the book I wish someone had given me.
Yeah.
Short, to the point, practical.
Yeah. Well, it really is a great book. And for those who haven't read it, I certainly would encourage it. But I mentioned this to you the other day on the phone, but something, a lot of people say to entrepreneurs, hey, when you want to get balanced, you want to get your head right, doing meditation, doing kind of your morning self, awareness and all these types of things is an important thing. But you actually gave, hey, here's whatever it is, step 1 through 8. This is how I do it, and this is what I like. And
this has changed my life.
Yeah, for me, it's like, finally. I surely could have gone out there and found it on the internet somewhere, but it was right there, and it was simple, and it's like, I can do this. And it's amazing, really, how helpful that is to me.
Well, thank you. And honestly, I'm lazy as heck. So, I was terrified of meditation. So I came up with my own based on neuroscience because I had a degree in biology, and my first career was trauma research. And based on neuroscience principles, it's 7 meditation. I just came up with for myself. It's very simple, very practical. That's all I do is 7 minutes of meditation. Anyone can do that.
Yeah. 7 minutes. Come on. Let's get in the game.
I don't even hear meditation an hour, 2 hours. I can't do it. So this was all my own personal mental hacks. But they were what I came up with to literally save my life.
That's amazing.
And what ended up happening is it transformed my life. It didn't just save my life, right? So after that company, I actually decided to I was tired of building companies. I want to do something else, solve a different problem. So I built a venture capital fund, and now it's my own firm. that I get to invest in the future. I get to see the future, all the best and the brightest start. I get to talk to all these amazing entrepreneurs doing amazing things, and I get to invest in them and, help them along the way, nurture them along the way from my experience, and get to take part in the upside.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, and I write these books. What most people don't know is just like entrepreneurship, instant success is a misnomer. Same thing with writing. I wrote for a decade while I was doing startups at night, reading Hemingway and all the writers I love, take them apart, see what they did, collecting rejection letters. I could have filled a room with rejection letters. Right? But that allowed me to write that little tiny book in a pure, simple way. That's craft.
Yeah.
Hard-hand craft.
Right.
It's not like vomiting on a page, right? Which doesn't serve anyone, honestly. You got to remove yourself out and just leave in what really matters. And so that decade of writing and rewriting and collecting rejection letters, people are like, what are you doing wasting your time, man? Go out, have fun. I just continued on, and that resulted in that success. So like now I write books, and I work very hard on them, and they're all my life lessons woven into stories that seem to help people. And I run this venture capital firm where I get to invest in startups, and I advise some companies, help them go all the way from start to exit. It's great. I don't feel like I work.
I love it. Yeah. Interesting enough, as you were telling me about kind of the room full of rejection letters and the 10 years.
God, it's true, man.
But it's just a writing boot camp, honestly, right? All of that work, everything that put into it. Now, you're an accomplished writer, and let's talk about your new book coming out. It's called Rebirth, and tell us a little bit about that and how it maybe differs from your past writing, and kind of what people should expect to see in this type of new fable, as you call it.
Yeah, it's a very special book. I sold it to Hachette last year, and Hachette's one of the biggest publishers in the world, and they took a bet on me, and they're very excited about it, which was beautiful as a writer who, like, all those years dreaming, then they'd go and have these meetings, and you walk in these publishing companies' offices, and here's all the photos of all these writers that you admire and their books that they published their book, and now they're choosing to publish yours. But this book, I want, fundamentally, I think and you can actually, there's been a lot of, I think I've read papers on this, of what separated us, what separates us from other animals, other species, is the fact that we can tell stories. Mm-hmm. That human beings evolved through telling stories. Like before the written word, there was the oral tradition of passing on knowledge, from the elders to the young, and you continued on your culture through telling stories. So I think we're wired for learning through stories. So I want to take some of these life lessons and wrap them into a story, into a simple story, where as the main character goes through and goes and learns, it's also life lessons weaving in that actually by the time they're done reading the story, they're better.
Yeah.
And it's also a really good story, well told. And so I actually used the experience of when I was 26 and my dad died. And we weren't close. My parents were divorced when I was a kid. But I was with him the night he died, and he asked me to take his ashes to the Ganges, tradition of his ancestors. So a week and a half later, I was on a flight to India with his ashes in the overhead compartment, and I was supposed to come home 3 weeks later. I came home 8 months later.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow!
I had no job. I think I had like $2,000 or $3,000 to my name, no savings, nothing, no health insurance. And I just wandered, man. Like I went to Nepal, I climbed the Himalayas. Fortunately, I was in the 10th mountain in the army, so I wasn't scared of that kind of stuff. But I ended up somehow, this season, went to Spain, walking an ancient pilgrimage in Spain called the Camino de Santiago. It's for people who walked since the 11th century for 550 miles. So millions of people over the centuries came and walked it, and I ended up randomly on there, ended up walking it. And for 35 or 37 days with a backpack, you get up every day in a country where I didn't speak the language. You get up and you walk west. And I lived on something like $3 a day or $5 a day while I was there. I slept in like ruined castles and churches and wheat fields, and I learned Spanish that way by having to point and grunt at things. We'd just get a block of cheese, a block of bread, and a bottle of wine was like $1, and a bottle of wine, that was thing for the day. And so I chose that journey to tell that I wrote this book, and that the main character is going through, and the people he meets along the way, and what they teach him about life. Like a lot of the lessons I've learned. And I think fundamentally, you know, there's a very, very smart entrepreneur I know in Silicon Valley. He's one of the best, one of the biggest. He's consistently also one of the best investors. One of the best. He's created the same guy's created like multi-big companies. You know, you don't do that by accident again.
Right.
And I remember someone asked me, I was hanging out with him, what's your favorite business book? He's like, I don't believe in business books. They're all garbage. You learn from like fundamental human principles and you apply that. You know, like leadership, you learn by reading like memoirs,
right?
Not by you know, people just writing a book on step one, do this, step two, do that. You know, like so that's what I've done with this story. It's like lessons, but they're lessons I think that apply to anything in our life: entrepreneurship, being better, be better a human being.
Yeah,
it's all the same thing.
It really is. This kind of goes back to the point I like to talk about with the personal why, right? We as entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily do things to move a widget or add a user there's some life purpose we're trying to serve, right?
How long can that inspire you?
Of course, yeah. And so by being able to bring that alignment, and it's clear to me in the first couple books of yours that I've read that this new book is going to be, you know, that way of telling the story, but applying lessons that are really core to your philosophy, which is all about, you know, getting better and being a better person and you know,
the inside game.
Yeah,
that reflects everything, you know, because life throws things at us that we can't predict. You know, like I've lost people I love. You know, people die. My grandmother passed away last year. Friends have died. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, businesses come and go. Businesses fail, or to succeed often, like just because the market happened to be going a particular way. You know, like, but who you become is the one thing that cannot be taken away from you, and that's actually what creates what I would consider great things in life. You know, for me, it's like if I was hit by a truck tomorrow, I'm gone. I'd be okay with it because I've left behind these books.
Yeah,
I have like some human life lessons. But this last one is a special book. It's a special book. I worked so hard at it. I put a lot into this, and I think the early readers, you know, they're getting out of it what I set out to do.
Good.
Yeah,
that's exciting. So this the new book Rebirth comes out on January 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
January 3rd, 2017.
So January 3rd. So anybody who's watching this before January 3rd, 2017 needs to get on Amazon and pre-order. Does that work for you, or do you have other guys?
Yeah. The publisher said that if you get pre-orders, they can go to like bookstores and say, look, this book is getting pre-orders.
Right.
And then more bookstores carry it. And, you know, you can read up more on it. Like you go to rebirthfable.com. That's a little site I set up.
Rebirthfable.com. Okay. Thank you.
Look up on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's a special book.
Well, below this video, just for your reference, I'm going to put a link to your book on Amazon. And many of these entrepreneurs are Amazon guys. They understand not only what bestseller ranking means, they understand reviews, they understand the whole thing. And you know, to me, it's always a circle, and you know, you should put back what you get out. And you know, you have been a pay it forward guy forever, and many of these entrepreneurs are absolutely the same mindset. So, you know, I'm hopeful as they get the opportunity to read this and take this in. I'm not sure they'll move the needle, but I guarantee you there's going to be a few guys that, you know, they get to absorb what you're putting out there. And I know just from reading some of your stories and hearing some of your stories about, you know, all the emails and all the people that have given you feedback that it's going to touch some people. And that's pretty exciting.
And whoever, you know, you are like on the other side, like buying these, thank you so much. And, you know, my emails are always in my book. You know, email me anytime. I love, you know, I do have I had to set up an autoresponder because I get so many emails. But I'd say, I promise you I will respond. Sometimes it's right away. Sometimes it's like 2 months later because I'm just going for a backlog. But
sure.
I love, it's such a gift. That's actually another, like, gift we have as entrepreneurs. I mean, because ultimately a book is also just entrepreneurship, the level of work it takes, putting it out into the world. It's the same thing, you know, same principles. You got to put the work in, you got to work hard, you got to put it out, you got to tell people about it. But, you know, like a modern entrepreneurship, if you were to talk about it, is we have something that didn't happen before. We have a feedback loop from our customers, from our readers that never existed before.
Yeah.
Like all these writers, like I have on my desk here a 1947 Royal Quite Deluxe typewriter, the same as Hemingway used to use. You know, it's fully restored. I love this typewriter. and you know, like, but you know, Hemingway didn't have like the gift of readers like connecting with him daily and saying, look, this moved me, or that moved me, or any other writers. We have, and then also now we have customers who can leave reviews and they tell us we created a product that really helped them or what they did. They can contact us through our email address. It's amazing. I think it's actually a gift because that when you get to connect with your customers at a human level or customers, readers, or whatever, it just inspires you to like do better and be better. It also shows you that you're on the right path.
Yeah, it's extraordinarily fulfilling, but it's also it's the opportunity to be able to get that feedback. And for me, there's hardly anything better than that feedback. Honestly,
and that's modern. That's a modern day.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah.
I don't see a local shop and your local people, but now you can have someone from Albania leaving your country.
Right. Yeah, on that global scale, it really is extraordinary. And
that's new. That's new.
Completely new. Yeah. Yeah, that is a fascinating observation, and I think this is one of the things that your books do a good job of this, right? Having kind of the attitude of gratitude and the idea of being able to love yourself or embrace some things that may be challenging. I love the fact that your story is, hey, we had a company, it failed, so for my next act, I'm going to start a venture capital fund, right? I mean, it's like what a great story, right? Because a lot of people would be running away. Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Right.
Keep moving forward.
That's right.
I bet you off my story. One step at a time, keep moving forward.
Well, this is the reality is if everything's in perspective, failure is just part of the journey, right? Things are going to happen. I certainly have had failures of various scales, including spectacular, and they bother you at the time, and you move on, and you get with it. And now, and perhaps always, I've believed, let's just make incremental progress. Even if we take a step back here or there, let's just, continue to push forward. And the fact that your, kind of philosophies and past books have talked about that, and I can't wait to read your new book. This is going to be so exciting because, just the idea of, some of the reviews that I've read, I'm excited about the storytelling and how it's going to, be able to be applied to my life. So I'm pretty jazzed about that.
I'm on.
No, it's going to be great. So any final words, any recommendations for people, as they're entrepreneurs and they're sitting, at home watching this or the office, wherever they may be, any kind of just, last words you want to leave with some folks?
Interesting. I heard you talk a few times about the why, right? And I'll tell you something. Like, so in the venture business, most of your companies you invest in fail. Doesn't matter. If you pick correctly, your one hit will make everything, right? For example, like Uber, right? Like a few friends of mine put in like in the first round when they raised their first round on the angel list, I think it was worth like less than $8 million, right? They put in like $25K a piece. That $25K a piece, by the time Uber goes public, will be probably about $60 million.
A light snack. Okay, sure, yeah.
It's a decent return on $25K.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Uber is a very special company for that kind of thing, but that's the kind of like returns you go from venture capital, right? You don't go for like 5x returns. You don't go for you can't return them in a fund. Let's say your fund is $10 million. You can't even return capital to your investors just 5x returns here and there, because if you get 5x returns in your hits, but 90% of your companies have
failed, you're still way underwater. Yeah, sure.
So my fund is doing very well, and it's because I apply I use my experience and what I've learned. But there's one thing I ask some of the founder CEOs that if I'm not sure about it, I'm kind of like on the fence, and I don't know them. There's a question I ask them, and I think this comes down to the why, and this question is really helpful. So I'll say, okay, so here's the thing. So you're doing the startup. Odds are you're probably going to spend about 4 or 5 years of your life working on it. Your relationship's probably going to suffer. If you have kids, they're going to see you a lot less. Your health, unless you really focus on it, is probably going to suffer, right? You have to go all in, right? And odds are like 92% that you're going to fail. But why do this? Why not just sit back and shut up? Because it's the ones that actually are clear, compelling, passionate reason about why they're solving this problem. And it's not about why they're doing this company. The best ones I've ever met, the ones who create the $1 billion company, they're always solving a problem. Why they're solving this problem, if they can like just tell me why, that's the answer, that's the person you want to invest in.
Yeah.
Because that's the person, because every business, some point along the way, is going to go sideways, going to have issues, you're going to have people that are not working out, whatever. There's always, building a company, there's no perfect There's never been, I think in the history of mankind, like ever, it's just been all been perfect, right? What keeps you going forward is you've got that clear, compelling vision of why you're solving this problem. If you have that, that's the person to bet on, always.
Wow, that's very sage wisdom. I mean, the fact that I love the just the setting the table and going, hey, just so you know, everything's gonna suffer. Your personal life, your kids, family, everything. Even your health potentially. And by the way, 92% chance this is not going to work. So are we ready to get rolling? And if so, why? Right? And that's a crazy.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah, that's a crazy.
Boy, part is a way to make money.
Yeah, right.
Like really, like why are you doing this? Because as a startup, so venture capital, it's a binary outcome. It's not like you take money out every year, whatever.
Right. 0
or 1. You either fail or you exit, or you run out of money and you fail, or you exit. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of them fail, because they can't just take money out every year as profit, right?
Yeah.
So but it's been very interesting that in doing that, I realized which are the people to bet on, which is the ones who just are so passionate about solving a particular problem. Because even if they fail, let's say I lose the money, I'll be glad I bet on them.
Yeah, I think that's a real key.
Next, I'll bet on them again.
Yeah,
because they learn your lessons, go on. You don't apply you apply the learning.
Yeah, no, that's wow.
Why is really powerful, but having that clear purpose, this is why this is the problem I'm solving, the one that keeps you up at night. You got that. You're guaranteed success in the long term.
I love it. Well, that is amazing. And I think that anybody who can kind of internalize that and ask themselves that same question, hey, what is the point? Not just of solving this problem, but then, why am I doing this in my life? There's so many times that people kind of get, off to the side of really their key objectives. They find themselves somewhere they don't want to be. So asking these questions regularly, a good thing. So let's, so for everybody again, the book Rebirth, you can go pre-order on Amazon right now. And we're going to add some links, make sure we make it easy on folks. Thank you again, Kamal, for taking the time. We're very lucky to have, not just a best-selling author, but a venture capitalist and an accomplished and great human. Thank you again.